right? Okay, we're live. Okay, you are live. What's
We
good,
are live.
everyone? This is once again Big Said from the Industry Code Sign, coming back with another version of my series. My friends are better than yours, but I couldn't get one today, so I got this guy instead.
Yeah.
To try to still have some continuity and consistency in what I'm doing. And also, this is part of the Beyond 50 series, which of course we'll go into a little later, if Derek understands English by the time we get to it. But anyway, once again, this is Big Said, Industry Code Sign. I do have somebody who's an independent. Let me rephrase that. Who is? Wait, actually, I'm glad that happened, so I can turn this down, turn off all my sounds. Oh, so I have a guy here
Put
who's an
your shit
actual.
together, man.
We have an actual entrepreneur, and as most of you know, I'm friends with excuse me, I'm friends with a lot of entrepreneurs, but some entrepreneurs I'm okay with, or I just know for whatever reason. And I have another one today, and his name is Derrick McKinney. And as witness, I don't know if you saw my last podcast. I always mess up people's intros, and I've always said that I let people introduce themselves because I always mess up. Oh, it was with Keith Perrin from FUBU. I messed up his name, and I've known him for like 90 years. So I'm going back to my other plan of attack where I let people introduce themselves. So I'm going to let this young man, this older guy, introduce himself and let y'all know who he is.
Uh, my name is Derrick McKinney, CEO and founder of L.O.U.D Music. I'm being held against my will. Send help. I don't know why I'm here. This old guy with the wild hair is forcing me to be here. Someone help me. I am a professional hostage at this point. I wouldn't say entrepreneur. I've been held against my will. But now I own a record company, a management company. We do events around the city, and just whatever we can do to take our label and brand to the next level, as well as have some type of social responsibility for the urban music community.
Cool. So as I usually do, I try to get, because with conversations I have with certain people, it tends to go in directions that's unexpected. So what I want to do is, one, I want to give you your props because I know you've been doing your thing since 2011, at least with the label. You may have been doing things before that, but
Yeah.
with the label, you've been around since 2011. And I want to give props because, especially in the independent game, people come and go, and they may even have a hit or two, and then you never hear from them again. So I want to give you props, and I want to have a discussion about, your business acumen and things that you've done over the years before we get railroaded, and I let people know the true you eventually. But as I stated, I know you started L.O.U.D Music. Actually, let the people know what L.O.U.D stands for in your L.O.U.D Music.
So L.O.U.D stands for Live Out Your Dreams. The U is spelled U-R. So L.O.U.D is an acronym for Live Out Your Dreams. Our flagship artist, Tim Ned, he's the one who came up with the name. We were in the studio one day, and I was pissed because I was working on a marketing deal for a client, and they decided to cancel and pull the plug at the last minute. And I was just like, man, I got tired of stressing over other people's projects. And I told Tim, I was like, man, let's start a record company. I'll be the CEO, you be the artist. And I said, we need a name. And he was like, let's call it L.O.U.D, Live Out Your Dreams. I said, bet. I said, let's call it L.O.U.D Music. And let's spell music, M-U-Z-I-K, to have some type of difference in it. And we put it together that day in the studio and shook hands and kept rocking.
That's good. And 13 years later, still going. So that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Since we're on the topic of artists, why don't you name some of the artists that have been on your label and are currently on your label?
So currently we have Tim Ned, artist, producer, songwriter. He's worked with Nipsey Hussle, CSI New York, Love Hip Hop Atlanta. He's produced records for R. Kelly that are unreleased. He's worked with a lot of the Southern legends, Lil Flip. He got records with Lil Flip and David Banner, Method Man, and a few others. We have the young man Khody Blake, the phenom, young talented singer, songwriter, dancer. He sings and raps in English and Spanish. We have Skyrah Bliss. Skyrah is a ball of energy. Her personality is nothing less than a superstar. We have the Dallas legend Fat Pimp. He's had chart-topping Billboard records like Rag Daddy, Maserati, and he has a whole new sound coming. On the management side, we manage Lil Flip. 22, 23 million records sold around the world. We've been fortunate to help guide his career to pass 4 years, almost 5 years. Other artists that have been a part of our brand, Grammy winner Susan Carroll. We worked with Chelsea Simone, one of LMA's background vocalists. But most of the artists we've worked with that we started with are still here, and we still have great relationships with them all. So, we're rocking and rolling, man. We've always considered ourselves like people like, oh, we're a family. Like, nah, we actually really hang out and kick it and treat each other as such. And I think that's why we've been able to be here so long.
Yeah. Well, for those who don't know, you're based in Houston, and I know that the Houston music scene has been going on for quite some time. And how is the scene now? I mean, of course, you had, I think there was this young chick named Beyonce and another one, just small artists from that area. Like, how is the music scene nowadays? Now that it's been going on for some time.
Oh man, so this is the hard question, because for outside looking in, a lot of people love the city, and a lot of people inside looking out love the city. But from a music scene perspective, I think we're in a very bad space. Just for the simple fact, there's no creativity, there's no identity. You can come to Houston and all the music sounds like it's from Atlanta, Detroit, or Chicago, or somewhere else. A lot of the artists that paved the way for our music scene, you knew where they were from. You understood the culture. You could understand our restaurants, our food, our talk, our dress. Now, and I think it's like that. That may be reflective across the country, but here, I think when you're one of the third or fourth largest cities in the country, you should always hold on to identity. I think identity is so key to your city, especially in fashion, film, and music. And I don't think we have an identity right now. I think we're so busy chasing every other city and every other major market. We're not taking the time to really export our own homegrown talent. We import so much, and we open our doors in Southern hospitality and welcome everybody. Then they come here, drink all our liquor, and leave. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's nothing else that they leave behind, except now our clubs are named after other venues and clubs and streets around the country. Everything feels like Sunday Fun Day in Atlanta. It's just, there's so much talent here. We had an event this past Sunday, and I handpicked a lot of the talent, and I purposely picked pop, top 40, mainstream hip hop, mainstream R&B records and artists that are here that never get an opportunity because they're not going to play them in the clubs. You can't work their records in strip clubs. They're not big enough to hit radio. So there's really no platform for them. So I think our music scene here, I don't think we have a scene.
Let me, while we're on the subject, because sometimes what I do is I'll hear something and want to respond to the question as opposed to going later. You mentioned events, and I know that you do events. Like, you just recently had an event, and like, what goes into, actually, you could describe the type of events you've done and that you are doing or that you have coming up, and what goes into the thought process when you do go into the planning stages of doing an event.
So the events we do, we used to do an event called Loud Fest. We did it for like 5 years, and it's an indie music festival. 3 stages, 100 artists over 2 days. We would have like 30, 40 media outlets, and the artists would get 10-minute performance spots, and it's to give them a true festival feel, outdoors, food trucks, mechanical bulls, the whole 9, so they can put it on their resume. And then we do the Loud radio and press junket. It's where we bring out like 80 media outlets, and indie music professionals get to do one-on-one radio meetings and media meetings with all the platforms. And then in the evenings, we would have panels. And then after the panels, we would always have some type of album release or party. The thought process into creating any of these events is twofold. The first side of it is from a label and brand perspective, if I feel like what I put out, I'll get back. So if I'm putting out all of these opportunities, I'll get opportunities. Then I'll have all of these people promoting and talking about loud music and introducing our brand into other places we weren't in. But on the other side of it is, I don't do anything that I don't feel like that will push our culture forward. So with our events, even for the artists to be able to perform at the festival, you gotta have a radio version, you gotta have a press kit, you gotta have a music video, you gotta have released the album in the past 12 months on all streaming platforms. You know, to force their hand into actually doing the music business. You know, you gotta be registered with BMI or ASCAP before you can even perform. So it's the bare minimum of checking the boxes on certain things that nobody's even talking about it. All they know is, I see this on Instagram or TikTok and I just want to mimic this, and not understanding the science that went into creating what they're seeing, not even understanding the process or the steps. I meet so many artists that got 10, 15 videos online and 100,000 followers, and they have no bio. They're not registered with BMI or ASCAP. None of their music is copyrighted. They haven't sent anything to any publisher anywhere. All they did was just download beats from YouTube and hire a videographer so they can have content. And so I try to do events that steer people away from that method to actually say, hey, this is how you move your career forward. It's not gonna take you from A to Z overnight, but at least now you're getting a glimpse of the process of what it really looks like on a larger scale.
Well, it's amazing, and I'm glad you brought that point up, because nowadays it seems as if people are more concerned with content. And although music is content, people are more concerned about the content aspects of either going viral or just having content for the sake of having content, as opposed to actually working on their craft so that way they can have a career as opposed to a viral moment. So I think that it's a good thing that you do have. They can only participate if they're members of the organizations, because that means they're taking it serious, because we have too many people that's just getting online just to get online. And I think it has cheapened society, not just music, but just society in general. But I just lost what I was about to ask you. But
You're old.
I'm old, but you look old. But what drives you to continue doing it? Because as we stated, actually, you know what? I'm gonna take it even a step further. Being that you've been in the industry longer than 2000, before 2011, actually give a brief history of what you've done over the years so people can have an idea. Because sometimes when people see you doing one thing, they think you've only done one thing.
Gotcha.
Let people know exactly what you have done or what you've participated in over the years.
So I had the pleasure of working with your last guest, Keith Perrin, at a very early
Dr. Keith Perrin.
Dr. Keith Perrin. Dr. Keith C. Perrin.
Yes, I said E. He got on me. I was like, oops. So yeah, Dr. Keith E. Perrin. But go ahead. The third.
So I had the pleasure of working with them and traveling the country with them and doing events with them and pushing their artists, their record label at FUBU Records. I worked with Academics Clothing. I was a consultant for Carl Kanai. I worked with the company called Headgear Sportswear, where we did all the Negro League jerseys. I did the Dr. J throwback, the George Gervin throwback. A lot of the product placement with BET, Rap City, and 106 in Park. Worked with the product placement for music videos and artists like Manny Fresh, the Big Timers, Yin Yang Twins, Nelly. I did the marketing for the record Chopper Style. I did the social media marketing, PR, and record servicing for R. Kelly's Black Panties album, his last gold album. Always been an industry person. Started off doing street teams, passing out 20, 30,000 flyers a week, hanging posters all over light poles. Traveling the country, myself in a rental car and a backpack and a car loaded with flyers and CDs and posters, putting them up in different cities. So I've always been a music industry nerd. No matter what I was doing, I was always just studying the business of it. I always loved the science of the music business, man. It's been just something that I'm always asking questions and trying to figure out the cause and effect of shit that's going on then and now and ways to get better. Yeah, it's a lot of, I sit back sometimes with my daughter and my son and we're listening to radio and she'll be like, hey, I remember as a kid, that person came to our house. Like, yeah, we barbecued with them at the house one time. So it's like now that my daughter's 18, a freshman in college, and my son is 24, and they like, our childhood wasn't normal. Like, no, nigga, that's what I've been telling y'all asses. Everybody didn't get to go to these places and do these things. So yeah, I've always been a music business junkie. And so I've had the pleasure of being a part of some really, really cool brands, some really cool artists, and made some lifelong relationships. And I got to learn a lot along the way. I tell people working, I feel like I went to FUBU University, being able to work with Keith, Carl, Jay, and Damon, and still have relationships with those guys to this day. They taught me a lot about marketing, branding, and humility all at the same time. And so yeah, I've been around, man. I'm not as old as you, but I'm old. You have about 30 years on me.
Anyway, and I look 30 years younger than you. But
sleep.
you actually, I was actually for whatever reason, I don't know why, but your Instagram post showed up in my feed either last night or this morning about the Instagram cutouts. And you had mentioned that, like, you don't want to take credit, but you
in 2015 we was at South by Southwest and Instagram was doing a big push. So I had my guy Charlie Hustle create a life-size 4-foot Instagram cutout. And we took it down to South by Southwest. And I'm telling you, every time we would pull it out, it would be a line of like 500-600 people waiting to take a picture. And then over the next couple of months, we would see those pictures and tags all over the internet from people who came from all over. And as I prefaced in my post, I'm not going to say I created the cutout of the Instagram, but I was the only person at South by Southwest with it. And I hadn't seen anybody else do it since. Well, at that time. Then after that, I started seeing it. And now they're selling them on Amazon. I did social media for the PGA Golf Tour for like 5 years. And there's this vending machine that you put in your Twitter handle and you get like an autographed t-shirt or a golf ball or something or a free round of golf. It was like I created that activation for them. So I see a lot of things that I've created and put in place for different brands over the years. And then sometimes I'm driving and I'll hear something or I'll see something online and I'll be like, I don't think they know. True story, fun fact. And the people at CNN can fact check this like they do the red clown, the orange clown. I created the jersey dress. So when we were at BET.
You mean when you wore yours?
No.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, go ahead.
We were at BET Spring Bling in Daytona Beach, and it was the first year they launched the show College Hill. And so we had all of the College Hill males in our Negro League baseball jerseys and fitted hats. And then the girls would have the jerseys unbuttoned with their bikinis on and hats. And it was crazy, and they was going crazy over it. So we put the guys in the second scene in the basketball jerseys. And then the girls didn't have anything. So we put the jerseys on the girls and the lead stylist for BET, Miguel Wargo and Llewellyn, they did some shit with some scissors and tied them and cut them up and pitched them in the back. And then boom, the girls hit the runway in these jersey dresses. And then after that, the orders went through the roof. We didn't even have them in stock. They weren't even made. They weren't even in existence or nothing. But after that hit on BET Spring Bling, people started calling stores, where can I get one of these baseball jersey dresses? So then you start seeing girls wearing the jersey dresses with the Air Force Ones and the fitted hats and stuff. And that literally happened at the spur of a moment backstage at BET Spring Bling. So it's just like when I see things like that, like, yo, I wish I could have patented it or something. But, I guess that's what they call a moral victory or moral ROI.
Can't pay the mortgage with it, but I get it.
At all, at all. So yeah, man. So I've been a part of some cool stuff, and I like to have always been at ground level with things intentionally.
Yeah.
I love to know what people are actually thinking in the moment, and what triggers them to purchase or to buy or to support. And so I've always based what I do off the emotions of people.
So I have a question when it comes to artists nowadays, because you've been around where the mindset on how to promote a successful artist has drastically changed over the years. At one time, it was all about the talent, and also what they used to call media training and things of that nature, where you concentrate on getting your talent to a level where you're always going to be great at what you do, and then the way you presented yourself, and then the way you spoke to people. Nowadays, it's like you get 170,000 followers that have one viral video, and now you can literally make $1 million. If people come to you with advice as an artist, as a recording artist, and that's all they want to do. I'm not talking about these hybrid. They want to do everything, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'm just using this as an example. But an artist like maybe a Her or D'Angelo, artists that just want to do their thing. What do you tell them is the safest way to not just get recognized, but to have an actual career as opposed to a moment?
So do what you do at the highest level every day and just document that online. That's your content. People don't stage any content. Don't go out, I got to do this photo shoot and put this car in it, and that's not you. Those artists that are purists and only care about their craft and the love of their music, it's perfectly fine to capture people who love that. And it may come in 2, 3 at a time, but just stay there and don't change. And because I tell our artists today, we don't get caught up in the content creation space. It's like whatever you're doing on a day-to-day basis, we have guidelines of what we want to see from them.
Yeah.
But our guidelines are based around of just who they are naturally.
Yeah.
Khody is a gamer. He plays video games. He plays basketball. He was the drum major in his high school band. So your content should be reflective of just who you are and what you do. I have this saying that they've put algorithms over artistry. And people are chasing the algorithms, and they're not even they're making music to have content to post. They're not making music for the love of music, for the art of storytelling, to be able to get their point across and connect with others. They're only using catchphrases, slangs, and TikTok words and moves so they can have their viral moment. And artists that I work with, I don't want to work with viral artists. I don't want to work with content creators. I want artists who actually just love making music, love the process of storytelling and being creative and pushing the envelope with sounds and instruments and things. So I say, hey man, don't fall victim to what you're seeing online. Because you look at Killer Mike won 3 Grammys. He ain't do that shit. You look at all the artists who are extremely successful, truly successful, not social media successful, but truly successful offline. There's no blogs talking about them. There's no podcasts talking about them. They are literally just talking directly to their fans and their people. Yeah. And I was like, that's what I will focus on. That's what I tell them. Like, don't ignore everything that you hear. Ignore everything that you see. I think we've been drastically lied to over the past 7, 8 years, especially in urban music. And it's like a few of our mutual friends, CL, LB, and a few other people, I called them like last year or 2 years ago.
I wouldn't say LB is a mutual friend, but go ahead.
Yeah, guy we know. I called them all and I say, hey, everything that the industry tells us to do, who do you know has gotten signed and has a successful career based off all of these benchmarks? And nobody could give me any. And I was like, so all of the things that they're telling us to do, it only benefits the platforms that they own.
Definitely. Definitely.
It doesn't help us. And I took the gamble and I changed everything we done. I changed our ad set. I changed who we market to. I changed how we market. And next thing you know, all of my artists got on bigger stages. The numbers started changing. We sold 400 hats last year off of Instagram. We sold 400 hats at $25 a hat. And it's only because I went against the grain of everything that they're telling us. Here's one of them veering off the side of the road conversations now for me is I feel like every new technology is always tested on the Black community and hip hop. I hated NFTs. There's nothing you could tell me about an NFT. If we can't get people to give us 99 cents for a download on an app that's already on their phone and in their hands, how are we going to get them to sign up for blockchain and buy Ethereum and Bitcoin to go back and give us something for a non-fungible token that they can only see in the metaverse? It was like, man, it's no different than Clubhouse. Every Black executive and every Black person made Clubhouse super, super popular and a household name. Snatched the rug up on us. Okay, now where it's at. So I just feel like we fell for that early of go viral, do this, do that. Black people, here's the quick way out. But they developed the Taylor Swifts in the background. They developed the Katy Perrys. They developed the Biebers. They developed the Adeles. They developed the Ed Sheerans, the Sam Smith. So at the same time where they were telling us to go viral and dumb it down, they were creating all of these iconic artists. So when Britney Spears faded out and Christina Aguilera faded out, oh, don't worry about it. We're going to give you Selena Gomez and Ariana Grande. We're going to keep giving. They won't give us another Chris Brown. They're not giving us another Usher. They're not giving us another Frankie Beverly and Mays. They're not giving us another Anita Baker. Like, you're telling us based on your algorithms and your content that we're only as great as thought rap, sliding on ops, wiping niggas' nose, killing this person. I'm on these drugs. And that's the best of the best coming from us. Yeah. And so I think all of that stems from content creation. All of that stems from chasing the algorithm, because that's what the blogs will talk about.
I'm gonna tell you what's funny, because you mentioned NFTs, and I literally have it right in front of my screen right now, where the interview I did with you for Black Enterprise, the question I asked you was, what are your thoughts when it comes to the metaverse, NFTs, cryptocurrency, and anything dealing with cyberspace as it relates to the music and our entertainment industry? Will it be as effective as some feel it will be? Do you feel that these items and the like will replace what is relied on now, such as traditional radio, streaming, etc.? You responded, I think NFTs, the metaverse, and all these new things are killing urban music. And to put it in perspective, this was back in 2022. I don't see any other genres jumping out the window to release their album as an NFT. The labels are releasing collector's editions of rock and roll vinyl sets, but for some reason, rappers have to sell NFTs. Every new technology that's not owned by us is pushed on us to make it cool, and we always get left behind in the payouts. We already get the smallest budgets in music and get paid the least for the highest streams and selling for the highest streaming and selling genre. We don't own the metaverse. All the major companies back. NFTs are crypto coins. Why are we always a target? I think it's going to crash and burn. So it's funny that you have mentioned that.
Yeah.
I was gonna bring that up anyway, and you happen to mention it anyway. Yeah. And it's funny that even when we as executives and artists are used for that purpose, when we have the vision that something's not going to work or it's not going to work, either it's stolen from us or it's taken from us.
Yeah.
So it's crazy that you said that 2 years ago and you were like 90% right. And I hate to say that you were right in anything, but you were right. And like I said, coincidentally, I had it up on my screen because I was going to ask you that, and you just bring it right up.
I tell people, and this is not I told you so moment, but everybody I was telling that to years ago all got fired this year at the beginning of the year. And I was like, and I had two executives that called me and was like, man, you were right. Because when they had their exit interviews and they was telling them the direction they were going, I said, they used our black executives who had all the clout and the cool factor to tell us, oh, nah, man, what's your TikTok numbers? What's this? I said, what happened to you coming sitting in the barbershop and having them like, oh, what are we listening to? What y'all jamming? I would go sit in my daughter's bedroom when her friends are over, like, hey, what are y'all listening to now? What's the hot new thing? My daughter put me on Brent Faiyaz and Khody years ago. And I was like, y'all listening to this? I'm like, yeah, this is what we like. A year or two later, out of here. And so I said, y'all let them make the standard, the algorithm. And once that happened, y'all was so cool and let your nuts hang and being able to tell people, oh, your TikTok numbers ain't this. You don't have this many followers. But now you're out of a job. Now we have 1,000 consultants wanting to charge indie artists like, and I told CL, I said, here's the thing. Yeah, they such and such and whoever, they can be consultants, but the person that they would consult with, guess what? They're out of a job as well. Yep. So what are we doing? I said, we have to get back to like owning the sound of our music. Yeah. When the pandemic hit and all the DJs was going live, I made a note of it. No DJ went live playing any new music. So in this space of Instagram and Twitter and Facebook Live and technology that's supposed to be for a younger demographic, why were they only playing 70s, 80s, 90s, early 2000 music? If what they said was true, that would have been the biggest breakout of new music ever. But the pandemic is why we have so many R&B tours happening right now.
This thing, and it was like, wait a minute.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you have a shitload of friends who've had a resurgence in their career, and they think it's because it's the internet. No, it's because of the pandemic. Because everybody was forced to sit at home and sit on their phones, and they realized, like, oh, these are the records I love. Yeah. People were able to make up their own mind during the pandemic. Yeah. People were able to pick and choose what they wanted and wasn't influenced because nobody was outside. So while D-Nice has always been a dope DJ, but he went live so the world could see him doing what he's always done. And it just so happened to magnify and reach so many more people. He wasn't playing NBA Youngboy. He wasn't playing Kodak Black. He wasn't playing Meg Thee Stallion. He wasn't playing none of these artists. He wasn't playing Cardi B. He wasn't playing Nicki. He wasn't playing Drake. He wasn't playing Kendrick. He was playing 80s, 70s, early 90s, all the classics. Versus, if Versus would have been what the industry tells us it should have been, it would have been new young artists versus new young artists. Like, no. You have to be a legend and have a catalog. And people realize, oh, I forgot all those hits were there. Now they're all on tour. Now there's a huge resurgence. And so it's the internet and social media has told Black people, you don't love no more. We no longer going to give you the soundtrack to our barbecues. Man, true story. I was looking at a clip that happened yesterday in Houston. There was a block party for Good Friday. Bunch of young people, 18, 19, 16 teenagers, early 20s, got shot up. 11 people got shot, 6 people got killed. Yesterday in Houston. And my initial thought was when I went and looked at it, everybody looks like the music that's out today. And if people don't think there's a direct correlation, we are doomed. As music in the Black culture is what led us out of slavery. It's what helped us pass messages. Music to us is a part of our DNA and has always been one of the greatest forms of communication between Black people. How do somebody who grew up down south and the East Coast know exactly what to do when Frankie Beverly and Maze Before I Let Go come on? We didn't grow up together, but we know.
Yeah.
So if you think that communication has stopped with all the guns and the over-sexual music, and people they'll say we've always sold sex. No, we've always sold the allure.
Yeah.
These chicks today are prostitutes. Night and day.
Basically.
We sold the allure. Some may have pushed the envelope, but it wasn't nowhere near. We didn't see it. So now we see the ass shaking every single day, all day on our timeline. We're seeing their vaginas every day, all day on our timeline, on free social public platforms. So it's a big difference. And if people think that those messages aren't infiltrating and penetrating and changing how our community moves, we are in a sad, horrible space.
Staying on topic with listening to older music or older artists, what are your thoughts on MC Lyte, Common, Pete Rock, LL, like releasing records, and not only releasing records these days, doing videos again, and like actually going on press runs, like I'm seeing like
I love it.
And even 50 being on tour, and like, you know, like I said, based on what you're saying, it's like there has been a resurgence, and I definitely enjoy it. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Because now they have big enough names to force a change in the landscape.
Yeah.
You're not going to tell MC like, no, we're not going to talk to you. What? You're not going to tell 50, no, you're not. No. They can force the envelope. And I don't know what's going on, but I was saying this morning on Instagram that if I compare the music industry to the sports industry of how it should be, you know, many years ago in sports, all you heard about was all of these Black athletes getting rich and going broke. Going broke, going broke, going broke. And they want to say financial literacy is what changed and the newer people are more savvy and all of that stuff. I don't think that's the case at all. Now you have so many Black head coaches, general managers, presidents of operations, even Black people in the ownership departments. Now that the executive side of sports, the face of that has changed, now those Black executives are able to tell these young Black athletes, no, don't buy those cars. Don't spend your check like this. This is how you hold on to it. Don't make this mistake. Do this. I had a teammate that blew all his money on women in Coke. I see where you're going, young brother. This is what you need to do. Let me get you somebody to talk to. Now there's somebody else higher up in the organization. They refuse to let that shit happen in music. Could you imagine if the head of hip hop divisions was Chuck D, KRS-One, Bun B, MC Lyte, Queen Latifah? They're overly qualified.
Definitely.
They know more about the industry ins and outs. They say, oh, you got to have relationships. They have relationships with every radio, PD, MD, anybody. But what they don't want is KRS-One to be able to tell the young brothers like, nah, this is not how you spend your money. No, this is not the type of deal you want. No, this is a better deal that'll fit your situation and your family and your community. They don't want that. Because the natural progression should have been for all of these phenomenal artists. Man, I'm going to tell you one that I've said for the past 10 years. There's no reason Full Force, the brothers in Full Force should not be the head of a pop music division, senior VPs of somewhere, or even president and CEO of something. Yeah. For the simple fact, they wrote everything for NSYNC, O-Town, Backstreet Boys, Britney. Like, if there was a white guy writer who wrote for 50 Cent, Nelly, Juvenile, he'd be the CEO and president of whatever major label right now.
That's true.
but they don't want it's not about the talent. They don't want that knowledge to be passed down. They don't want them to be like, hey, hold on, wait a minute. Y'all have way more. The beauty of a LeBron James is because he can go to veteran players, ex-players who are now coaches and general managers that can say, no, this is how you get this deal. Don't take the Nike deal like that. Restructure it and ask for it like this. No, move this way. We don't have that in hip hop. We don't have that in urban music. And that's where our demand should be. Because if you change that, it changed every conversation on down.
But don't you think that the fault, if there was a fault, it also relies on a newer artist? Because if an older artist who isn't hot anymore is giving advice, they don't want to take it because they feel that they're not hot anymore. Because I've witnessed situations years ago where that happened, where a conversation is had, but they're looking at them like, you're an old artist. Now, let's say when 50 first, like right before he got into the TV game and like his rap career not ending but slowing down, they're looking at him like, nah, son, you haven't done things in years. But then 5 years later, the Power series comes out. The next thing you know, he's a powerful television executive, but he's still as powerful, where now he went back on tour and selling out more than some of the people that he was giving advice to. Same thing with Ice Cube and Latifah, like all of these people, Will Smith. People are forgetting. Some people didn't even know that Will Smith was a rapper,
right?
Because he was so successful in his acting career. So I also feel that some of these artists, from my eyes and my ears coming up, that they also look at the older rappers like, y'all too old, y'all don't know what y'all talking about. But yet the richest ones are the ones that have the most consistent work, all the Latifahs, all the MC Lights, all the LLs, all the Ice-Ts, all these people who were in their position once where it was like, I was where you are trying to get to. And although I'm not in this aspect of the game anymore, I'm still in the game. Not only am I in the game.
You know why? Let me tell you why I think that is. And I don't want to just keep pointing a finger, but a lot of the young artists are told their youth is their value. They're told, oh, we only want artists 23 and younger. Nah, they too old. They're old head. They don't know nothing. They're old head. They don't know nothing. I've said in meetings where I may have been one of two black people in the room and everybody else was under 30 questioning what I knew because of my age. Wisdom is not respected.
Yeah.
And at the time I'm like, yo, I'm 37, 38. What are you talking about? How do you assume that I'm out of touch from music? People think, especially with hip hop, we're celebrating what 51 years of commercially released hip hop.
Yeah.
Is it safe to say hip hop may have been around 60 years, 70 years?
Longer than that.
So that means when you look at the demographic of who listens to hip hop, you have to go as young as whatever age you want to start at, all the way up to at least 70, 75 years old. So you tell me somebody who's 60 years old can't tell somebody about hip hop or what people like when they've actually seen every transition in every phase of it. But the 26-year-old white kid whose dad is a lawyer for the label, who now is an intern out of college, who now got an A&R job, who's now the VP of A&R, who's now running the hip hop division at 28 years old, knows more about black culture and hip hop than we do. So that that messaging is why they discredited the MC Lights and the Queen Latifahs, and they killed their credibility by saying that they're too old, so the next generation won't talk to them or won't listen to them. When I worked for Headgear Sportswear, the company was based out of Virginia Beach, Virginia. And they was like, man, why aren't these jackets selling in Texas, in Houston? I was like, we barbecue in December. We're not wearing a $400 leather jacket? Like what? That's why it's not selling. They sent me hundreds of jerseys. And they was like, why are we selling so many jerseys in the winter? Because we don't get a true winter here. And the sales rep that was in Virginia had never been to Houston, Texas. How can you tell me what's going to work here and you've never even been here? So how can these white, Asian, Latin, whatever demographic that's not black, who's never been to Third Ward, Houston, Texas, going to tell me what record's going to work there? How are you going to tell me what's going to work at my family reunion, my barbershop, my daughter's HBCU? They're not in the market no more. They're watching algorithms, and 13 to 24-year-old white kids control 80% of hip hop based on the algorithms. So then when a record breaks on TikTok and goes viral, and then they give that artist a budget to go after the urban market, oh, it didn't work. It's because you idiots, we weren't the ones that broke it on TikTok. But if they had to give them the budget to go after the white kids that broke it on TikTok, now you got to give those rappers the Justin Bieber budget.
Exactly.
And that's what they're not going to do. So it's so much deeper. I had a rep from Universal tell me like, hey man, your problem is you know too much. I had a whole full-blown meeting in that presentation, the whole nine. It was like, white guy told me, he said, man, they don't want a black guy in your seat. They don't want them to know what you know in your seat. They was like, nah. He was like, they'll never give you up because you're gonna have too much influence over others. And I'm like, damn. I had a white program director tell me about music, like, oh man, where the street records? Where the street records at, man? You know, the brothers love the streets. I said, so how are you white and telling me brothers don't love love? I said, where do you think we got the OJs from, the Isley brothers? Like, all of the foundation of every sample, everything was based off of love records. Now all of a sudden we don't love love. So it's so many people that's not from our culture dictating what our culture needs.
And the sad part about it is you have the higher ups as far as black executives either not disputing it or co-signing.
I won't say the name of the call I was on because you know them and they'll probably watch this at some point or something. And I made the comment like we were talking about records and stuff and music, and I was like, yo, we know we're all black here. I don't need you to be righteous here. Be righteous and overly black when you're in the boardroom and they're asking this artist to stand on the table and hold money to their ear and dance with their shirt off. I say that's when you should be like, no, we're not doing that in here. Like, nah, man. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, do it then. It's so many. It's a sad truth of our culture and our industry. Some of us get into a position, and then all of a sudden we. I'm not saying jeopardize your job, but too often we put currency over culture, and we'll make the money and sacrifice so many others for the sake of it.
And then the sad thing is that 3 years later, they're out of a job because, like you said, they'll hire their nephew to do exactly what they've been learning from you these years. And now you're out of a job and you can't get a job because instead of being innovative, you were just going along with the program. And now all of a sudden, when all of these layoffs happen, you're out of a job and you can't get a job because who's going to hire you? Because it's all under the same umbrella. And then the people that came to you that would have consulted and given you money that you shitted on, now they're not going to even touch you. And it's like people don't, and there's so many examples over the years where people still fall for the same trap. Yeah. Wasn't it just a big layoff at Universal? Or one of these
they say Atlantic just not only they dropped 50 artists,
yeah,
and all of their black executives.
Yeah. Those same black executives that we were just talking about. Now, specifically, because like I said, I don't want to say specifically because I might know a few of them. But, right. Even if I know them, this is the game you played. Now you're out of it. What are you going to do now?
We've been an indie label owner. I would tell all my friends that work the labels, I'm like, listen, man, I'm in Houston. There's no major label office in Houston. I said, the minute there is one, it's lights out. It's a cash cow. We've won. oh, D, we got to see this and we got to see that and we got to do this. Boom, they all got fired. Hey, D, I think we should. I'm like, no. And I would tell them straight up, I say, nah, man. When you were in the seat that could have pushed that button, you told me I didn't have enough. Or you had all of these questions and all of these different things. So now all of those questions are out the window. I'm like, nah, I pass, bro. Nope. Because you've actually lost some value because now you're no longer in that seat. And I shared with somebody on Clubhouse. We were talking about South by Southwest one time, and I was talking about my Loud Fest. And they was like, yeah, but you know, yours is just starting and relatively small, and we're South by Southwest. And I said, no, let's correct this. You're not South by Southwest. You're an employee. I own Loud Fest. Big difference. So you can be fired. I can't. So you're limited on what you're going to generate in revenue. I'm not. I say it's a big difference. And people don't understand that when you're working for these entities, they take on the identity of those brands and those identities, and that become your calling card. Well, now your work is gone because you're no longer there. But me, I'm still Loud Music. You know, no matter what happens.
Yeah, and I've said the same thing because people get caught up in, like you said, making the money, and that's cool. But once that entity like uses you or doesn't need you anymore, and you've sold your soul because you didn't represent yourself, you represented who you worked with. Where you, I've seen so many of those where I can go anywhere now, and because I'm big said, I can still get to the people I can get to, not because I work with this entity, not because I work with this company, but because of how I've been over the years by doing my own stuff while I was working. Every magazine, every place I've worked at, I've still had the industry cosign. The industry cosign is the reason I was able to work at Vibe, Black Enterprise, The Source. All of these entities hired me based on what I was doing. And even though they always try to tame me down to not do what they hired me to do, somehow I still continue to do things even in later years where the industry cosign just celebrated 20 years. Wow. I'm still around. I mean,
I guess congratulations or whatever.
but this is the thing. I tell people it's not because I worked with Black Enterprise. It's not because I worked with The Source. It's because I'm big said. It's because of what I've done with the industry cosign. Now, the industry cosign might not be the entities I named, but it's still mine, and I can still. The industry cosign still takes me places. If right now Black Enterprise says we don't even want to deal with you anymore, how many of those people are not dealing with me anymore? Now, the people that may have met me or just wants to use me exclusively for Black Enterprise, which they can't anyway because I don't make the decisions anymore. But that's another story. But those people, like, they have no use for me, but I'm still going to continue because every major interview I've ever done, every major executive I've talked to for Black Enterprise was because of me, not because of Black Enterprise getting it for me. And this is factual. I can still do that. Once, like I said, I'm picking the series back up. You know, my friends are better than yours. People who didn't know are going to see because all you have to do is look at my articles 15 years ago, 12 years ago, and you'll see that some of the people I'm speaking to now, including you, because I featured you on the industry cosign 15 years ago, whatever the case may be, even featured you on Black Enterprise 2 years ago. And it's like, you know, the people that I have relationships with, I can still talk to because of what I've done and who I am, even though every place I go to, they try to tame me because, you know, I'm too boisterous. I'm not too boisterous. I just know what I'm talking about, and you don't like it.
Really know what you're talking about? I think that's subjective.
Well, I get the impression, and it's been working for the past 37 years, so I'm still roll with that.
If fake it till you make it was a person.
I mean, hey, you know, I'm still around as opposed to some of these record executives who have fired after making six figures, coming to ask me who I can hook them up with. And that's another funny thing. All these people that be in these high positions, then when they get knocked off, I'm getting a phone call from them. Or I've seen them at places like, yo, can you hook me up with this person? Or can you talk to this person? I'm like last year, like you wouldn't even take my phone calls. Now you're asking me to help you get phone calls. And that's like, things happen for a reason.
It's wild. I've seen it, man. Like I said, these last year and a half, 2 years, I've seen people that wouldn't take the phone calls, wouldn't set up the meetings, the usual industry. Yeah, hit me when you're in town. All right, man, I'm in LA for the week, bro. Let me know you want to catch up. Cool, I hit you. Crickets, nothing. Like, but now all of a sudden, D, I'm coming to Houston. Cool, bring a jacket. It's cold or it might be raining. Like, what are you expecting me to do? You know what I'm saying? Like, and I always say, I remember those who did answer the phone just as much as I remember those who didn't.
Yep. In fact, I remember a little quicker.
Yeah, because I know it's you when you're a good person. Like I tell my artists all the time, you can't expect a great album or a project from a shitty human being. I was like, at some point, you can't expect greatness from an average person. You can't. And the better of a person you are, I feel like the greater your accomplishments will be. And we're seeing a lot of these music industry cats and artists and executives, they weren't good people. So when things happen, I'm not shocked, I'm not surprised. I never want to see somebody not be able to feed their family or not be able to take care of their living expenses and stuff like that. I'm always for, hey, if you can get your money, get your money. But you got to be a good person at some point.
I was about to say, I don't mean to interrupt you, but at the same token, if you're the person that's taking money from people, that's been shitting on people and stealing from people, don't feed your family because you prevented other people from feeding your family. So
when
that's what I'm saying.
Deal with it.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
So, and I think in urban music specifically, we're at a lot of that now. Like when I think they, my guy was telling me that they pretty much have shut down all urban radio departments across the major labels. And so that in my brain, I'm listening like, okay, if they've shut down all urban radio departments, why are y'all telling me to get on the radio? Y'all don't even care about getting on the radio. So why are you telling me? If the radio stations now, most of the shows are syndicated. And so it's like, wait a minute. Out of all of our shows, how many of them are syndicated? So why do I need to cater to y'all here in the clubs and y'all aren't even dictating what's going on? So I'm looking and I'm watching the landscape, and I pride myself on being a visionary. I'm always looking years ahead, and that's what I'm working towards. I've always done that. I have never looked for right now. And I think that that's what has helped us always stay ahead of the curve. We have bumps and bruises and take losses every damn day. None of it's easy. But because of the way we prepare for the next year. We're already working on summer 2025. We're already working on festivals and events and stuff. So our work is leading us up to that. So it shows consistent, it shows growth, it shows we're constantly pushing the envelope forward. But there are so many who are only here for today. They only want what they can eat today, and then they're going to wake up in this rat race tomorrow and have to do it all over again. And it shoots them in the foot every time. And I feel like that's where we're at. That's where we've been taught. And that all of these executives and all of these people now, they've joined that rat race. Because now you're no longer over there. So that rat race you created used to be the person holding the cheese in the rat race. Now you're in the goddamn race. And so
and behind.
Because it's like, when cops do dirt and end up going to jail and they're scared because everybody's going to beat them up because they know they're a cop. You're not the A&R no more. Now you got to come over here and work with us. I'm not opening any doors for you. I don't have none for you.
Especially when you slammed a few in my face.
Yeah, come on.
As they say, what goes around comes around.
Another hour. That's a whole nother hour.
Yeah.
A whole nother hour.
But I do appreciate you taking your time out to talk. Is there anything else that you have going on or that you're about to have coming up that you'd like to, just mention or talk about?
So I think that the thing that we are most focused on is the music our artist Fat Pimp. He's been known as one of the club gods and club records and all that good stuff down south. His new album is called But You Can Call Me Chris. He hates for people to call him Chris because he's like, yo, you didn't grow up with me, you don't know my government name. So this album is going to bring people in to where they can call him Chris as he makes his transition in his career. His father passed in July from cancer. So he's been able to write throughout that whole process. So the records are really personal. We've brought in violinists, church choirs, and bass players and organists. Like, we've brought in so many musicians for this album. Sonically, I think it's been one of my greatest works that I've ever been a part of, because I forced myself to understand songwriting and music production so I can be accurate. Tim has an album called Cadillac and Cocktails. It's like Anderson .Paak meets Pharrell on an album. It's so dope. It's so funky. It's so late 70s, early 80s, with the 90s R&B feel. Like, it's a fun project. We're only doing feel-good music. We're only doing stuff that people can ride to, can listen to. Khody's mixtape, Khody Blake Volume 1, he got some records on that are phenomenal. Skyrah Bliss has not performed for less than 3,000 people this summer. She has not done a club show. Everything has been arenas, theaters. She just did the Battle of the Bands. So we've just really been focusing on creating the greatest music we could ever create, and we'll let the content generate itself from that. Like I said, we stopped working to impress the industry. We only care about fans and people. No disrespect to the blog world or the media world, but I realized that y'all aren't talking about anything positive for nobody winning. Just want to talk about who got busted for drugs and who's a rat and who's sleeping with who. So why am I making music to cater to y'all? You don't want to talk about us anyway. So we've just been focused on making great music, man. That's what we have coming up. It's a lot of great music.
I have one last question.
Mm-hmm. Oh shit.
Do you think that Shannon Sharpe situation was planned?
Hell yeah.
That man did that because of the
rumors
of what type of people he like. Yeah.
I 100% believe he did that, because how you not know? Like, you on YouTube, you
press 17 different buttons.
You got all of these different things. You're on TV. You know technology. You know how to work your phone. That wasn't no accident. You knew what you was doing. So yeah. I see your uncle. I know what you was doing. That was a publicity stunt to clear your name, so you ain't got to answer these questions no more.
And the thing is, he has to answer more. he ain't going to, but there are more questions, because I've seen too many social media posts and articles saying, yeah, but don't you have to press this in order to press this and then to make sure to go live? It's like you got to press too many buttons in order for you to just throw the phone on the bed and all of a sudden, no. I'm sorry, I know Shannon Sharpe ain't coming to me for an interview, so I can talk. I can speak.
Yeah. His next club Shay interview, whoever he got to interview a comedian that's gonna talk to him about his life, and I think that's gonna be bigger than this Cat Williams interview.
You might be right. Might be right. I'm trying to think of who would be the perfect one. He already did Marlon. He already did. Well, let me rephrase that. He already spoke to Marlon. The ones that would do it. You know what?
You got to talk to Corey Holcomb.
That would be a good one.
It got to be, because Corey Holcomb go talk that shit. Corey Holcomb he ain't gonna let him make it. He got to interview Corey Holcomb.
I think he would start the interview with like, wait, before you start, I just have one question. How? I'm like, come on.
Yeah, now Corey be like, now Shannon,
Yeah.
Who's the little bitch you was fucking on live? You know, that's how Corey would talk. Corey would, yeah, man. Get Corey Holcomb on the line, Shannon. That'll be the biggest interview. That'll be bigger than Cat. That'll break.
Be bigger than Cat, you know. But thank you. I appreciate you once again, Derrick McKinney, CEO, founder of L.O.U.D Music, based in Houston. Been around for years.
Hour of my life I'll never get back. I regret it.
It's okay. You'll have about maybe 2 more friends after this one. Maybe 7 more enemies, but 2 more friends.
Cool.
Why would you talk to him? Why would you talk to him?
Yeah.
That's what I say to you. But once again, enjoy the success that you have planned for your artists. And you also didn't mention Skyrah's album. You mentioned everybody else's album name, but you didn't mention her album name.
Yeah, so her album is going to be called A Purple Girl in a Purple World. We're about 7 or 8 songs in so far. In October, we're in Atlanta Fashion Week. All of my artists are going to be in the FUBU fashion show. So there's that relationship there that is carried on over the years. So Skyrah will be premiering new music, a single called Fashion Icon, at ATL Fashion Week. And that's going to be on her album as well. So, her album is pretty dope, man. Her album is pretty dope. We're a few songs in. It's if you put Rihanna and Tiana Taylor in the studio together, there's your album.
Cool. All right. Once again, Big Set Industry Co-Sign, Derrick McKinney, L.O.U.D Music. Until next time, enjoy your day. And watch who I speak to. My next one will be with a real friend.